Welcome to the Power to Inspire podcast. Today, I'm very excited to be having a discussion with one of my great friends, Imani Philips. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
These are kind of going to be social episodes where we discuss topics that are of mutual interest that we think other people would also be interested in. And we will eventually be taking questions as well from social media so that we can address topics that the viewers are interested in. And there's something really cool about our friendship is that it's a cross-generational friendship. And it has been such a rewarding and fulfilling relationship that we have surprisingly fostered. I am 20 years older than Imani, and I literally get so much out of our friendship. It started off more of a mentorship type relationship. So basically, I was working with Imani's mom, and Imani was just turning 16. And her mom asked me if I could go have lunch with her. At this point, I was the chief development officer of a company in Bermuda, Bermuda Press Holdings. And I guess she just thought it would be helpful for Imani to have a successful, older woman in her life that wasn't as old as her mom. So there's that sweet spot where you're not the age of the parent, but you're at an age where it's still relatable, I suppose. And we clicked and got along super well. And then our friendship has just really taken on a life of its own. We talk about current issues, social issues, our lives, and gain so much from each other's perspective, I believe.
No, definitely. I think that my mom originally reached out to you because I was a bit of a her and I had no idea how to communicate with me being a 16-year-old. And it was her first time having a 16-year-old girl. And we had no idea how that dynamic would work with everything that was changing being 16. And she really wanted me to bounce ideas off someone with a level head, because I think what happens when you're 16 and when you're any age, you just tend to bounce ideas off your friends that are the same age as you, which can be positive and negative in so many different ways. And I think that's what I've learned so much from our friendship is the having that different having those diverse opinions and diverse perspectives, and how
Mhm.
beneficial that is just across the board. And if I think about how our friendship blossomed, it's actually crazy because it started with you inspiring me with wellness activities and with you inspiring me and just listening to me. And then it grew into you then trusting me to listen to you and trusting to bounce ideas off me, and how beneficial that can be, because I think that sometimes mentors can view it as a one-way street. And if
Mhm.
you actually can make yourself quite vulnerable and open yourself up to the potential of just experiencing another human, you can have the most magical interaction with someone, because genuinely I don't believe our souls see age or anything like that.
I know we're like
And
the anti-ageism over here.
we really are. I genuinely I think it's the most irrelevant concept ever. Just like time, it means really nothing when you
Well,
think about
and
it.
it's true, like you say, obviously now, like we are both very spiritual, and that's something that we regularly connect on. But when you think about it, in the concept of spirituality, we are all equal. We are souls that are here having a human experience, and that transcends race, religion, age, gender, all of those categories we may belong to. At the end of the day, they're just categories that we've created, like in this system of experience, but we do definitely connect on a soul level more than people who might be in my age category, you know?
Mhm.
And for myself, I think you've really inspired me to mentor younger people in general. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing these episodes, right? Is
Mm.
to reach a wider audience of your age group potentially, or even of my age group that can get information from you that's relevant. Because when I was 16, I didn't have anyone to talk to. And I do remember having lonely moments where I would journal, but I really, really wished there was like a grown up that I trusted that I could be fully honest with, And I think I had to just keep stuff to myself. And like you say, rely on my peer group. And I never felt like I could go to my parents. Not that they did anything wrong. It's just the relationship's different, of course. So I'm so happy that I can play that part in your life. And I do remember I asked you to review my social media for my business. And, you got me on TikTok and stuff like that. Like, there is a level of humility you have to have. Like, I got to a certain seniority level in my career where it's humbling that, if I want to have the fresh perspective of the younger generation, I have to be listening to that generation directly and not pretend that I know what they want or what that looks like. So we started working together at that point, and then it became so natural for me to tell you about all of my business ventures. And I could tell how much you were absorbing it. And you've just become like the most amazing sounding board, because ultimately, I don't even have many people in my life that really know all that I'm doing business wise, because I just don't really tend to talk about that with people on a day to day basis.
But
So,
if
yeah.
you think about it, why do you think that our dynamic works then? If I don't know that much about business, I'm young, I'm just about to graduate university. We both do law degrees, but
Mhm.
you've chosen such a different industry. Why do you think that that dynamic has been as like impactful and successful as it has been?
I mean, one thing I think is that life shows you the way. And so I'm
Mhm.
someone that just trusts so deeply in life. Like, I'm constantly enjoying looking for signs, looking for synchronicity. That's something I learned from Deepak Chopra. Like, it's what makes life fun when you have an objective. For instance, for me, it's to help people live the best lives they can, and that could be through, my tech apps that have to do with well being, or my coaching, or this podcast, or the films that I'm producing. And when you have a high level objective that is purposeful, you just watch what comes your way, right? And I think this has shown me that your age and generation is like a sweet spot that resonates. Personally, for me, in my 20s, I really, again, wished that I had more guidance. And you being like an audience, like a typical audience to me, and you being so receptive. First of all, I think you're extremely smart and with it, and you probably aren't like every 22-year-old,
Mhm.
but you have just been so open to learning and then giving me feedback, which takes confidence also, is to give me like
Mhm.
honest feedback on what I'm doing and explaining to you. Yeah. I
I
don't know. Is
think that that
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. I think that that fearlessness and openness goes both ways. So we both kind of, I would say, felt our way through it. And I remember when we first started getting close and I would come over and like hang out with you for hours and we'd stay up all night and like just talk, and we both just kind of it honestly is like a new relationship that we just definitely leaned into. And I think that that lack of fear, just to have a really human connection, can be the most beneficial thing, especially for businesses. I look at so many businesses in this generation that are essentially dying because they haven't taken on board so much to do, not just with social media or technology, but just my entire generation's thought process is unlike any generation before. And in order to be successful, you have to tap in to every possible opportunity. And I think that that's definitely something that you've taught me in business and in life and in school and with all my endeavors, is to follow the breadcrumbs, follow the signs, follow the path, because it's all synchronicity, it's all connected, and just it's a way of thinking that I never even thought before. And I think that the biggest thing that you and I both leaned into in our dynamic has been the intuition of it all. Because I
Mm.
would say that there were moments, even with the social media, that you just asked me to look at your Instagram, asked me what I thought about it. Then we had a proper meeting, then we talked, then we made a list of goals. It just totally naturally escalated because we were just following our intuition. And since then, there's nothing I won't follow my intuition on, even if it's going down a certain street, if I feel like it, or walking a certain way. It's just such
Yeah.
an intuitive experience.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely watched you fully grasp that and embody it, which is just awesome to see. I think we also have similar values and ambitions. Like, I think both of us do care fundamentally about making a difference and helping people in general. Like, that's just like a value that we probably align on. So, and we have similar ambitions in that sense. And I'd love for us to work together more and more in the future. So, again, not taking into account the categories people fit into, but rather your common values and common goals and
Mm.
ambitions allow you to connect on this really purposeful and aligned level where you're both bringing each other insight that's feeding towards that higher purpose, right? And then another thing that's extremely unique that has to be mentioned about our friendship is like there's zero jealousy. You know,
Mm.
I like celebrating my wins. I don't have many people to celebrate my wins with, like I'll tell my kids about like different, small wins that are happening at work, but other than that, like I just don't have that many people to talk to about them. And not only that, is that like you're so happy for me, like genuine happiness when things go well, and vice
Mm.
versa. Like when you were doing your moot court and you won your trial, like I couldn't be more happy for you. And it's like, isn't life about that? Like finding people who are so happy when you're happy and sharing that experience with them.
Well, I didn't even know that that was something that, because I've definitely been that person that can feel like jealousy or envy towards other people when they achieve a goal that maybe I wanted, or they've achieved a success that I wanted, or they have something that I want. But then I think it's such a one, it's something you can grow out of, and then that's something that also, like, spirituality has totally taught me that that's just not even how that's not how receiving works, and that's not how abundance works by any means. But then I think if I go deeper into that, and then I go deeper into, like, our dynamic, I think that then it shows genuine love, right? Because it's your win is my win is our win. It's just a deeper connection because the love is so strong there. And I think that then it also just taps into the fearlessness element and not being afraid to love someone that deeply that you genuinely are able to remove yourself from their success or from their wins or from anything that they tell you. And I think that's what is also really beneficial with how we bounce ideas off of each other is it's very from a non-biased, impartial standpoint and just a logical, practical point, which is something that I've never necessarily considered in my life. And I think that in particular, if I look at 16 to 22, this has probably been the most hormonal, emotionally fluctuating point of my entire life. And then to have someone that can constantly show me that anchor and show me how to ground myself and how to deepen my connection to myself, it's just impossible not to feel then that love. I don't even know
Yeah.
how I would explain why our dynamic is that way. I don't
I
know.
think it's because it is grounded in spirituality. When I hear you talk like that, it just makes a lot of sense because that is something that we have always spoken about is spirituality/philosophy, meditation, soul experiences, and that's the reality of the human experience is that we are all one, we are all the same. And if you understand that as a fundamental philosophy, there is no place for jealousy. Like,
Mm.
why would you be jealous? We're all the same. And then, something that's super interesting for people to keep in mind is like an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Like in the abundance mindset, there is enough for everyone to succeed to the highest level that they wish to succeed in this universe, and there really is. And the only thing that'll hold you back is a scarcity mindset of believing there isn't enough. And I think jealousy stems from this feeling that if someone else is achieving something, there's less for you, you know? And, I'd really encourage people to flip that and think like, if you're witnessing someone else's success, it actually means that your success is that much closer because
Mm.
you're seeing success in your surroundings, That's like, great, I'm on the right track. People close to me are succeeding. I'm witnessing people succeeding. That must mean I'm also succeeding or about to succeed. And then pushing that one step further and being happy for someone else's success actually accelerates your momentum because the law of attraction, as we both speak about, like attracts like. And so that feeling of being happy for someone else's success is a feeling of being happy for success, which is the same feeling as when you're happy for your own success. So when you're feeling that through someone else, you're actually just attracting that more in your own life. So, I don't think we consciously are taught to celebrate other people's success. Instead, it makes us feel insecure, like maybe we haven't achieved enough and why haven't we become successful, which is just the ego, which is fear based. And given our friendship is so spiritually grounded, there isn't ego present. It's really, we're showing up as our true selves in love versus fear.
Well, the ego is such a that is discovering and understanding my ego is I'm still doing it, but I would say that has definitely it's changed my entire life. And then if I go even deeper into what we're touching on and then jealousy and being happy for someone else's success genuinely because I think that there's a way to do it that is genuine. And you can feel when someone genuinely is happy to their core for you and loves you to their core. And I think that in society, there is a block with female relationships and jealousy. And Caroline just actually did an International Women's Day event. If you want to touch on that really quickly, and then just what you think about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did an International Women's Day event at a hotel here in Bermuda. Got some great people together, men and women. It was mostly women. And yeah, the theme of the event was the yearly theme for International Women's Day, dictated by UN Women, which is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. So we talked about different ways of investing in women. Obviously, there's the financial side of, venture capital money going to female founded businesses and us supporting female founded businesses. But then there's the whole idea of investing in yourself as a woman and investing in other women and ways in which you can invest in yourself and in other women through your well-being and, various different practices, which I touched upon. But the event was super positive. We had a great panel. The Minister of Economy and Labor was there, and several other female founders that shared their journey. I know people got quite emotional in the audience listening to them, which was impactful. And then we had a great lunch and, in Bermuda style, we're dancing to reggae after and everything. So it was a great celebration, like a really good balance between raising awareness of the progress that has yet to be made, but then also really celebrating how far we've come. And I think the message above all was like, look what women can do when we support each other. And you know, not to go on a tangent, but like when it comes down to it, gender inequality exists because of a patriarchal system that we have inherited that is still very much present in our society. And, you know, we have to be conscious of the ways in which this might be holding women back still today in order to make that change. And we need both men and women to be aware of that system because if any social system is holding someone back based on something like their gender, it's clearly outdated. You know, women represent half of the world, so they should have an equal voice when it comes to companies and government and, well, and anything really. Um, and, I see women criticizing each other at times, and there's really just no need for that because, like, everyone is just doing the best they can. Like, it is not easy to be a woman. Like, I'm
Mhm.
so thankful I am, and there's so many amazing pros to being a woman, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I'm so happy to be a woman and being able to step into that. But like that Barbie monologue, highlighted for everyone. Like there is so much pressure on women to show up in every single way. And I mean, like, the number one thing we can do as women is like not judge each other, and just have like grace and compassion for like people who are doing their best and trying to show up in whatever way they show up and not shaming each other, for parenting styles or appearance or whatever it might be. And if we just drop that attitude and see each other as all on the same team, I think it'll allow us to progress because, I mean, certainly there are men that probably don't view women as equal, but ultimately it's like, let's start with women supporting each
Mhm.
other and showing men that we are all supporting each other, and men will also be supporting us.
Well, not
Yeah.
just supporting each other, but the concept of, in particular, with like investing in other women and sending the elevator back down. I think what has been, and when I speak to my friends about our dynamic, everyone wants that level of mentor that is not just having small talk with you and giving you advice, but genuinely sitting down with you, hearing your concerns. I call Caroline before anything and everything. I send her my emails before I send them. We run through so many things because I have no idea. And that level of mentorship and that level of investing in other women, like, you're doing that and you don't know how that will benefit you or how that will pay off. You're just doing that because you and I connect and you see another woman that you want to uplift and not just bring along with you, but give me the tools to create my own path and to create my own journey, which is a type of attention and just like love that I've never I've never really seen or felt or understood through mentorship, because that is it's such a genuine care, because you really listen and you really hear and you really, even with, if you think about my friends and I regularly, before we go into business meetings, before we have our first interviews, I don't know what to wear. I don't know how to do my hair. There's so many things that you're just kind of thrown in the fire and left to figure out because the women before you had to figure it out. So you've got to figure it out. And it's that, when can that stop? You know what I mean? Like, when do we not have to do that? And I'm so fortunate. Literally, I write it on my all the time that I've had someone to guide me through that experience, because it's not obvious. It's not easy to detect, and I genuinely think that the event was so powerful, so meaningful. I mean, the statistics around, what are the statistics around venture capitalist investment in women again?
I think 2% goes to female founded businesses.
I mean, come on. Like,
I know.
that's like, wow. And I'm right now in the process of, I just created my first business. I'm creating projects. There's so many things that, even that saying it out loud is insane. It doesn't feel real. I don't even know, but to have that level of confidence because I have someone as successful, as knowledgeable in the industry, as just so many things backing me, it's, and I can't even, and then I don't know how then that feels for you to see me flourish in that way. I mean, like, to like, what, I don't know, what does that feel like for you?
Yeah, I think coaching in particular is really like a symbiotic type of relationship because every time you're helping someone else, you're reminding yourself of certain things that also help you. Like, life is really interesting. It's not like you just get a concept and for example, I'll give a concrete example, imposter syndrome. It's not like I'm gonna say to myself, "Oh, well, imposter syndrome's silly, I shouldn't have it." And then for the rest of my life, I'll never be insecure and never have it. Like,
Mhm.
much of how we live our lives is dictated by our day to day. And it's almost like every day we have to remind ourselves to show up a certain way, which is why I love meditation because it allows you to sit for a certain amount of time every day, reground yourself. You know, the 4 questions that I go over in my meditations: who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? What am I grateful for? And then it like regrounds you in what you want and what you want to achieve and why. You're like overarching why. And then let's say if I speak to you and you're saying like, oh, it'd be really cool to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, well, start a business, like look for a domain website, like, because I've done all of that. So, I had to figure it out on my own. Like, I can just give you that information and then seeing you start to believe in yourself, which you 100% should, it just shows me how powerful it is to have someone who believes in you and then seeing yourself through their eyes, because we're able to be vulnerable enough where you can say, for instance, like, "Oh my gosh, but is this crazy that I'm doing this?" And then it's like, well, no, I mean, everyone will always have imposter syndrome. You just have to acknowledge it and decide not to listen to that. Because even people who are super successful might feel imposter syndrome before going on stage or before doing a specific work activity. But yeah, there's something really cool about watching someone grow. I try and not give advice. Like, I really just try and allow you to answer your own questions because fundamentally, like, all of the answers are within you. And I think that's the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to give advice is that they're like pushing their view on someone else. Like, I really think that you should do this, or I really think X, Y, and
Mm.
Z. And it's like,
Projecting.
but it doesn't really matter what I think, does it? Like,
Mm,
I'll
definitely.
ask questions like, "Well, how do you feel about that? What do you think about this? Okay, what do you want that to look like in a best case scenario? If a genie were to come out of a bottle and grant you
Mm,
all your wishes, what would you have?" And you've told me stuff that's come out that's like pure creativity. Like, we're all creators and that's pure creativity. Like, you've said stuff to me about like plans that you have in business down the line. And these are seeds that you've planted that have also stayed in my mind so that when I see opportunities that align with that, I bring them back to you. Because in my mind, you're definitely going to do those things that you talked to me about, you know? And I don't think you had ever even said those things out loud before. And it's
no,
like when you speak things out loud and someone else hears them and doesn't think it's crazy and in fact validates them and says, "What a great idea." Like, that's the power of how we can uplift each other, you know?
definitely. And then I think it also then makes you accountable in a way because it's like, "Whoa, so I said it. I thought it, I said it. Okay, now I'm gonna start making steps towards it, and then we're gonna talk about the," and then it's just I think this is the perfect time to I had a moment in was it last year where I was what am I doing? What am I gonna do with this law degree? What am I gonna do? Like, I'm 21 right now. I have no idea. I have no interests. I don't feel connected to anything, and which wasn't true as we went through. And Caroline asked me questions, guiding questions, never told me anything once. And it flowed into how should we tell this? I'm not sure.
The brainstorm.
The brainstorm,
Yeah.
definitely.
So Imani reached out to me and said, "I don't know where I want to work for the summer. Like, should I be trying to go in a law firm? That doesn't really resonate with me." Personally, it didn't resonate with me either, which is why I didn't end up traditionally going down the traditional legal route. After law school, I went to into tech startup world where all my friends were going into law firms. So at once, like, I realized that just because you study something doesn't mean that you have to follow that track. Like,
Mhm.
listen to how it feels in your heart.
Yeah,
Like, is that exciting to you? Like, if something is exciting to you or you're curious about it, there's a sign there. So obviously I can't tell what has that effect on you.
Mhm.
Like I don't know what excites you and what's going to make you feel passionate. So we set up a call and we were doing a brainstorm. And I was like, all right, what classes in law excite you? Which areas, what industries, write them down. And then I guess you had just taken this tech law class.
Mhm.
We had said, do a brainstorm, identify companies that might be interesting to you. Take those companies and then go look at who's leading them and identify the leader of that company and look at them, read about them, and see if they resonate with you, which is a really strange thing to do. But ultimately, like, there's power in that because it's showing you what you're attracted to as a person, which is going to be different and unique from any other person. And it ended up, I think, spurring on a whole course for where you want to take your
Well, I
career
sent
potentially.
you at least we had this call. I sent Caroline at least 20 messages afterwards because it that was the beginning of really seeing my intuition and understanding how it works and how it feels. And I mean, shout out LinkedIn. Like it was crazy. Like it genuinely was crazy. I found a company, I found the CEO. I mean, even if I take it back a little bit, Caroline and I had a reconnect because she moved to London and then I moved to university and then we were both in the UK together and that we just totally reconnected. And then for Caroline to have already been in tech and to already have her network at 18, it didn't mean much to me. But then at 21, that network is what then reconnected the CEO of Realm. Can I say the company?
Yeah.
The CEO of a realm. And then that CEO is someone that inspired me to my core. I ended up researching him so much that I found out that you guys went to the same college together. I reconnect those two. They have a mutual friend. It
So
genuinely was
that's an example how it's like mentorship has ways of mutually rewarding you that you can't even
mm,
fathom. Because I reconnected with him thanks to you, and he's a great friend and he just sponsored our International Women's Day event, and I
it's so
reconnected with him
funny.
thanks to you because he was one of the leaders that you identified that you wanted to work for. Like, yeah,
It
so
all
cool.
lines up and it's all a circle. It's just all in a flow. And when I think as a woman or one of our strongest, my mom has always said to me, your strongest ability is your intuition. And I never understood what she meant by that, to be honest. My mom's a massive hippie. She always says stuff like that. I don't know what it means. And then, so I just never really, but then when I really start to think about it, I mean, it's insane. That started the trajectory for now my entire career path that I want to pursue, and it shifted in literally a matter of minutes, my entire brain set, and it immediately started to feel good. And I remember speaking to one of my friends because I was telling her I was literally up at night watching YouTube videos and I was watching Joseph's podcasts, and she said to me, she was like, I haven't found my thing yet that I like enough to stay up and watch videos for. And I
Mhm.
was like, "No, I felt the exact same way." And then I sat with it for a minute and we had that moment together, and it totally gave me full permission to ask myself the question that I was scared to ask because I didn't think I had the answer, but I did the whole time. And the answer came at the perfect time. Everything totally truly does come when it's meant to come. But then it's like, I guess if I was someone listening to this, I would say then, how do you trust that? Like if someone wanted to find the mentor, like how do you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting point because we have a compass within ourselves. So our emotions and our feelings are a compass. It's so powerful. At once, our are showing us at any point in time what thoughts we're thinking and if the thoughts we're thinking are aligned with our greatest good or not. So if you're feeling negative emotions, you're likely thinking thoughts that aren't in line with your true self and however you want to live your life or what you want to achieve. And that same compass of feeling can be applied to anything. And there's this fallacy that has been put on us as a society that we have to work hard and grind it and pay the price to eventually get rewarded. And don't get me wrong, an enormous amount of hard work that goes into building anything successful. But the difference is using your compass. Is it exciting? Is it fun? Do you love that? Like, I love my work. Like, I do not do anything that I feel doesn't call me from that deeper level. And if you don't know what it is that calls you from that deeper level, you're in that research phase,
Mm.
like you were. So, what classes did you like at university or in high school? Or what extracurricular activities do you enjoy? Like, what sparks something in your compass that makes you excited? Anything, follow that. Dig deeper, dig deeper. And synergies start to appear because you're on the right path at that point. And then you can see you'll start attracting serendipitous meetings, connections on social media. You start following people that interest you in industries that interest you. You reach out to certain people, and something will come out of it. And whenever those things, synchronicities show up, you'll know it's because you've identified what interests you because it'll resonate. And then you keep following that. So, in terms of finding a mentor, who inspires you? Like, and
Mm.
you can have mentors that are public figures that really speak to you and that you haven't met. But then if you do meet someone in real life who also inspires you, nurture that relationship. Ask to go have coffee with them. What I've noticed from meeting so many successful people through my life, like they are more than happy to give back to people who are genuinely interested in learning and also achieving in their own lives. Like if you've reached a certain level of success, like obviously you want to pass that on to the next generation, right? Like I've heard stories of people who started from nothing, identified there was this guy actually, I met his wife and him on a plane, and he had started with a grant that he received from the Princess Trust and built this company. I believe it was tires, like for cars. And he really admired, I think it was the founder of Tesco. And for whatever reason, spoke to him. And like, as in this, the founder of Tesco's inspired him. So he reached out to him, wrote him a letter, asked him to go for a cup of tea. I think perhaps on several occasions. Lo and behold, this founder eventually agrees to go have coffee with this guy and subsequently funds his business. And the guy has one of the most successful companies, like, I mean, seriously successful tire companies. But it started from self belief, I guess, when you think about it. Like,
Mm.
he had the balls to just go for it and ask someone who really inspired him for some time and advice. And it led to all the right things, um, which also leads me to probably the biggest barrier to achieving success in your life is self worth and lack thereof. So, what I see the most in people not going for their dreams, whatever those might look like for them, is that they somewhere have some part of them that's unhealed where they feel they don't deserve it. And so that's kind of work that people can do with a mentor and on their own of like really believing in their self worth. Because again, if we have the premise that everyone is created equal, like everyone has an equal right to achieving whatever it is that they want to achieve in this lifetime. It's not that someone was born better or more worthy. We are all as worthy of achieving whatever it is that we want, but we have to believe that in order to then attract it into our lives, right?
Definitely. That's such a cool story because I think as well something that you taught me was I've never felt like you've limited me to just you being my mentor. You've taught me to go message, go seek out, go Instagram DM. Like the other day, it's just it's crazy how you really can just do things like that. And there's so many natural limitations that I put on myself. I think we all put on ourselves, and so many ceilings that we can create that don't exist. And then when you genuinely do have the balls, it's like when you I mean, every day I've started having to say to myself the whole I am affirmations, I am beautiful, I am worthy, all those things, and I mean, it makes me cringe, duh. Like, but like, and I get it. Like, it is cringy, but it's. I read something the other day, and it said your subconscious is always listening, and your
Mm,
subconscious doesn't know when you're joking or if you're not serious or all those things, and just how valuable that is within business itself. I love that you touched on it doesn't have to be hard work because that's something that you taught me that I didn't know that you could be successful and genuinely do things that you love, that you're excited to do, and that you're passionate about, and that you don't have to hustle and bustle and like literally have nothing else in life because that's how you get successful. It's not true. That's not how that should work. It's not how it should feel. And I think that that also is a big conversation about self-worth. Am I worth having an amazing job that gives me the lifestyle that I want, the life that I want, and also allows me to be truly passionate about something and truly, truly, genuinely care about what I'm doing? Because I
mhm,
think that if you were to ask a lot of people that, I don't think they would say yes to that. Not
mhm.
and that doesn't even mean you have to be a CEO, but truly
Mhm.
loving what you do and being passionate about what you do is top priority because you are worth that and your time is worth that.
Yeah,
And I don't know, it's so hard because it's a privileged thing to say, and I say it from a place of I'm not sure what the advice would be, but I feel like it has to be top priority to be passionate about what you're doing.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever that looks like. Look, I mean, if you feel passionate about being a stay-at-home mom and that
Mhm.
really fulfills you as a person and that's what you want for you, 100%. You have to listen to that and honor it. Like you
Yeah.
can't not, you know? So whatever that looks like to each individual, that's what makes us beautiful is that we are so unique, but it's important to honor our individuality and express what it is that does make us tick as people. Um, Another thing that I thought about just then that you were saying is self-talk, and you talked about the
Mm.
affirmations and the subconscious. Um, my self-talk has evolved so much from when I was in my 20s, and I honestly do not have negative self-talk anymore, you know? Um, when I think about how most people live their lives and how I potentially lived my life in my 20s, being self-critical. One, like, where does that come from? You know, that's like just our ego constantly operating out of fear of not being good enough, which is so unnecessary. And then the power of how you can transform your self talk and decide not to listen to the voice that is criticizing you. You know, I don't look this way enough, or I'm not good at this enough, or I'm not good. Those thoughts don't even pop in my head. Now, it's not arrogance, it's genuinely being able to know that I'm doing my best, you know, and I'm not going to always do do the best even though I'm doing my best,
Mm.
and every day is not going to be the best day, but it's like having grace for yourself and just like refusing to judge and criticize yourself like that. Like if I do want to improve on something, I'm like, okay, cool. If that pops up in my head, I'm like, okay, that's a lesson. All right, next time I'm going to do this. But it's not attacking me as a, like my self-worth. It's literally just being like, oh, cool. Yeah, it's true. I could have done that better. Great. Check. We'll factor that in for next time. And then it's a growth learning opportunity versus self-talk, self-doubt, self-criticism, which I'm assuming a lot of people may have had criticism from their parents, which then becomes your inner
Mhm.
voice. But at a certain point, like, that's entirely up to us to curate that inner voice and our self-talk. And I just think there's so much power to that because I believe people's self-talk is mainly what will hold them back in their own life. It's not external circumstances, you know?
I I want to, like, get across how positive your self-talk truly is to your core. That is I've never been around a person that truly you do not beat yourself up. You don't. Flat out.
No.
Like, there's no if and there's no other how you communicate with yourself and how you take the time to understand your thoughts. I would say that's one of the greatest things that you've taught me is looking at my thoughts and why I'm thinking them, understanding where they're coming from, looking at, is that true? No. So what's the reality? And then just things like that. It's genuinely like anytime now I try and always remind myself of it because it truly is it's crazy how much in one day you can say so many mean things to yourself. Sometimes if I catch myself in the because like you can just get in that, you can just be in it for like minutes, hours, you can just be in that negativity with yourself where you're just beating up on yourself for something you did or cringing at something you said or just everything. It's so damaging that you don't even feel it until then you catch yourself and you feel how much better you feel when you don't do it. And then it makes me actually really sad to think about saying anything mean to myself because I am my universe and my universe has to be perfect because it's my universe. You know what I mean? There's so many things there that I think are just
I think
really, really valuable.
that comes back to affirmations too. So I was trying as you were talking about that to think of times where I might feel insecure. And of course, I'm not beating myself up when I feel
Mm,
it, but example. So if you, some people find it really intimidating to go to the gym. I'm like
mm,
quite into weights and stuff, and I just don't let those types of things intimidate me. But I must say, like, there have been times where I'm at like a big gym with like everyone super into what they're doing, and I'm doing an exercise and I can feel like a bit insecure. And the affirmation that I use is I am a divine goddess. And yes, cringy or cheesy or however you want to say it.
mhm,
But for whatever reason, that affirmation grounds me in my spirituality, reminds me that I am a spiritual being, a
mhm,
feminine being. And it just like shoots my perspective to the larger picture. Like, I'm a divine god a goddess, like, I'm a child of God, like, I'm divinity here having a human experience, and I'm doing the best I can. Like, and it just lets you, like, be easy on yourself, you know? So, even if it's going into a social setting or anything, it's like, I just wanna bring my divinity, you know, bring my spirit with me,
yeah,
and yeah, that affirmation resonates to me. Obviously, it's good for everyone to find one that resonates to them, but I feel like I show up as my true, pure spirit when I think like that. And of course, I'm not going to judge myself when I'm being my true self in that kind of form.
and you're also not gonna judge other people, and because you're
Mm,
not judging other people, you're not judging yourself, and that's also something that you've taught me through self-talk is speak no evil, see no evil, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not viewing others in that way and you're not viewing yourself in that way, then that energy is never present within you, and that, like,
oh my God.
automatically calms you,
But
automatically.
and that's so true. Like, so this is the craziest thing. Anytime, like in psychology, this is proven, anytime you criticize someone else, it's a reflection of something in you that you're not accepting or that you wouldn't want in yourself. It's always like we're
Mhm,
such self-focused people. It's like
mhm,
if you criticize someone else, it's something within you that you haven't yet like either healed or accepted. So even if like a judgmental thought about someone else pops in my head, I'm like, "Oh my god, what is that saying about me?" Like,
Mhm.
it's not even about them, you
Yeah.
know? It's a message that there's something unhealed within myself that I still haven't accepted or dealt with.
Mhm.
Because the people who criticize others are the most self-critical,
Mhm.
you know? You can't be, like, a happy, self-accepting person and then judge others. Like, you know?
Doesn't work.
Yeah,
Doesn't go hand in hand. And then I
yeah.
also think that, like, if we tie it back to business and just with it takes confidence and balls to do so much in business, to make big moves, to ask for raises, to ask for a job, to sign a contract saying that you're gonna like it kind of blows my mind that next year I'm gonna sign a contract saying I'm gonna work somewhere. Like that doesn't and I think then when now that I feel like I'm really, really actively working on my confidence and my self-confidence, it really enables you to make big moves like that because you believe that you're worth it. You know that you're worth it. You know that you can handle it. And there's just so many things in business that I think are so beneficial if you look at self-worth, even if we go into my I did a mock trial earlier this year. And right before that, how you geared me up and how you prepared me for that was with affirmations. I used that. I am a divine goddess. Like just so much. And that I was using in those moments that soothed me in a way that breath work also soothed me. So many different wellness activities that aren't just hippie nonsense. They're genuinely to their core relaxing abilities and techniques that you can use that I've found incredibly beneficial in moments that
Mhm.
are just so naturally nerve-wracking.
There's something to be said about the work that you did in preparation too, you know?
Mhm.
Because I think when you have high self-worth, you have a certain standard of work that you expect from yourself, you know? And I definitely cannot put out work that I don't feel reflects my potential, you know? And if I do, I'm really disappointed that I did that and I learned from it, you know? And for example, yes, and career is an amazing example of how you cultivate your self-worth and manifest your desires. It's a growth experience, and I just would encourage you or anyone to just put yourself in as many uncomfortable situations as possible. Like, if you're not sure you're gonna be able to rise to the task, you're probably in the right place. Like, life is too easy if you constantly walk in your comfort zone, you know? So, I was, after law school, I became the sales director of a social media technology company, and I really did the best I could, probably fueled by imposter syndrome that I wanted to make sure these people thought I knew what I was doing. So, I did an extremely thorough job, and in the end, was rewarded by that because one day I was called into a board meeting, and they announced to me that they had named me CEO. And I really wasn't expecting that. And I was 29, and I just remember being put on the spot and walking in this boardroom, all older males, part of the board, and here I am, like a 29-year-old female, and they're like, "We just named you CEO of the company. Will you accept?" And of course, in my mind, like, the first thought is like, "What on earth is going on right now?" And
Insane.
the words that came out of my mouth was, 100%. Absolutely, you know? And I signed on the dotted line, and I was just like, "I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out," you know?
Mhm.
And that's a combination of the hard work that I'd put in, the self-worth that I somewhere deep down believed that I deserved it, and you can always figure everything out, you know? Like, so just step into any opportunity you possibly can, and you'll figure it out, you know?
And then I also think it's super like, I remember when you first told me that story, and I was like, "That's one of those things that you hear that, like, never happens." Like, that's just crazy. And then things like that just inspire me to just, 1, never set a ceiling, but then I also think that's where our friendship and our friendship, including our different generational understandings, different maturities, different grasps on the world gives me so much self-confidence, because to know someone that has had that much success at such a young age and that has been in situations like that and just carried themselves, to know that then they not only believe in me, but then that they trust me to be on their podcast with them, or just so many things are, it's just so reaffirming in so many different ways, because it's like, wow, wow.
I I can relate, and, I'm obviously having moments of self-reflection as we're talking about this. Like, my father has been a really strong, figure in my life, because all he has ever told me is, "Whatever you put your mind to, you will achieve. Put in the work, you will achieve it." And he's never allowed me to think in a limited way when it came to myself. And there is such comfort and security when there's someone more experienced and older who tells you those things, because you do start to believe it. And I think
Mhm.
that's like the greatest gift that you can give other people, is to remind them that whatever they put their minds to, they can achieve. So, yeah, it's anyway, I'm so glad we've been able to have this chat, and I'm really look forward to future episodes as well, where we'll be able to cover other topics, because every time we're on a call and it's like into a long call, we're like, we should have been recording this. This is such valuable
We have
information.
to, though.
So,
This is the
yeah,
icebreaker. This is the first one.
I
Many more to
know.
come.
I know. I'm so excited. So thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to chat as always. And yeah, tune in on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Power to Inspire.
Thanks for having me, ma'am.